When the new CFO walked into the conference room, pointed at the server I'd designed over 9 years, and called it outdated junk wasting our budget, I just smiled. He had no idea he'd just pulled the safety pin from a $4.6 million financial grenade. Some people think power comes from titles and corner offices. They never realize the real power lies in understanding the systems that keep everything running. My name is Valerie Knox, and I've been building things that last since before disruption became a buzzword. 38 years old, 15 of them spent in tech, 9 at Terraloom. I joined when we were 12 people crammed into a converted warehouse, writing code on monitors that flickered when the AC kicked on. Now we process millions in transactions daily, and the backbone of it all, a system I built with my own hands. They call it EcoGrid, not flashy, not sexy, just reliable, like a Swiss watch made of code, every component precisely where it needs to be. While other engineers chase the latest frameworks, I built something that simply worked, day after day, transaction after transaction, never failing, never complaining, the kind of infrastructure you forget exists until someone decides to yank it out. I wasn't hired to be liked. I was hired to solve problems. Back in the early days, our payment system crashed every time we hit 1,000 concurrent users. The founder, Marcus, gave me 3 weeks to fix it, or we'd lose our biggest client. I rebuilt everything from scratch, creating a token synchronization protocol that could handle exponential growth. That was EcoGrid's birth. The new CFO arrived on a Tuesday, Travis Kelburn, fresh from some Fortune 500 company where he'd optimized his way to a 30% cost reduction. Armani suit, perfect teeth, the kind of handshake that tried too hard to prove something. In the all-hands meeting, he presented his vision with slides full of buzzwords: cloud-native transformation, elastic scalability, cost-efficient infrastructure. Then he pointed at my server rack. "This legacy system is bleeding money," he announced, laser pointers circling the hardware like a vulture over carrion. "Maintaining outdated infrastructure is why our margins are suffering. We need to modernize. People, get rid of the dinosaurs." I sat in the third row, watching him perform. 9 years of work dismissed in a PowerPoint transition. The other engineers shifted uncomfortably, knowing what EcoGrid did but too junior or too scared to speak up. Our CTO, David, cleared his throat but said nothing. He'd been neutered months ago when Travis arrived. "Any questions?" Travis asked, that practiced smile never wavering. I raised my hand. "That dinosaur processes every single payment that goes through our platform. It's not legacy code. It's specialized infrastructure designed specifically for our token synchronization needs." He chuckled, the sound of someone who'd already decided I was irrelevant. "I'm sure it was impressive 9 years ago, but we have cloud solutions now that can do the same thing for a fraction of the cost. Have you reviewed the technical documentation? I don't need to read every line of code to recognize inefficiency." He clicked to his next slide, a graph showing projected savings. "This is about the big picture." The big picture. I'd heard that before from executives who couldn't tell a database from a spreadsheet. They saw servers as expenses, not as the beating heart keeping their bonuses flowing. I could have argued, could have pulled up the dependency charts, the integration mappings, the custom protocols that no off-the-shelf solution could replicate. Instead, I smiled. Of course, the big picture. After the meeting, a few developers approached me quietly. "He can't really shut down EcoGrid, can he?" asked Jamie, one of the younger engineers who'd helped maintain it. "He can do whatever he wants," I said, already thinking 3 moves ahead. "He's the CFO." That night, I stayed late in the server room, my fingers tracing the familiar hum of the machines. Each rack represented hundreds of hours of optimization, thousands of edge cases handled, millions of successful transactions. To Travis, it was just old metal consuming electricity. To me, it was a masterpiece of engineering that kept Terraloom alive. I began documenting everything, not the standard documentation that gathered dust in wikis no one read, but the real story. Every dependency, every integration point, every single point of failure that EcoGrid prevented. I sent copies to legal, to David, to anyone with an email address and a stake in the company's survival. For your records, I wrote, in case questions arise about system dependencies. No one responded. They never do when the new executive is in his honeymoon phase, when optimism drowns out experience. Travis had made his decision the moment he saw those servers. In his mind, he was already a hero. The cost-cutter who'd modernized Terraloom. He didn't know he was holding a lit match in a room full of gasoline. I wasn't hired to be easy. I was hired to build things that last. Sometimes, the best engineering solution is to let gravity do the work. The official memo came down on Friday at 4:30 p.m., carefully timed so people would stew over the weekend, but couldn't organize resistance. Infrastructure Optimization Initiative, it read. Corporate speak for Travis gets to play with matches. Effective immediately. All legacy systems will undergo evaluation for cloud migration. Priority 1. EchoGrid decommission by end of quarter. I read it twice, not because I didn't understand, but because I wanted to appreciate the precision of corporate stupidity. End of quarter gave them 6 weeks. 6 weeks to replace 9 years of intricate engineering with whatever Travis's consultants were selling. Monday's emergency tech meeting was a masterclass in willful ignorance. Travis brought his new friends 2 consultants from CloudForge who spoke in acronyms and assured everyone that migration would be seamless. They'd clearly never looked at our codebase. The token synchronization protocol, I said, interrupting their presentation. How does your platform handle non-linear token refresh with multipath validation? The consultants exchanged glances. Could you elaborate on the use case? Every transaction generates a unique token that must synchronize across 17 different validation points in real time. If even one token desynchronizes, the entire payment chain breaks. EchoGrid handles this with custom hardware acceleration. I'm sure we can replicate that functionality in the cloud, the senior consultant said, his confidence inversely proportional to his understanding. Show me. I pulled up my laptop, displaying EchoGrid's dashboard. Here's our current throughput, 11,000 transactions per second, sub-millisecond validation, 0 downtime in 3 years. Show me your platform doing that. Travis stepped in, his smile sharp. This isn't a competition. We're all on the same team here. Then let the team see the technical specifications for the replacement system. Those details will be finalized during implementation. I laughed. Couldn't help it. You're decommissioning a system without knowing what replaces it. We're modernizing, Travis said, his tone suggesting the conversation was over. Sometimes you have to break eggs. That night, I worked until 3 a.m., not on company time, but on my own. I spun up a mirror of EchoGrid on my home servers. Every line of code, every configuration, every custom kernel module. It wasn't theft. It was preservation, like photographing a building before demolition. I also programmed something new, Protocol Delta 13, a simple monitor that would track what happened when EchoGrid went dark. Not interference, just observation. A black box recorder for a predictable crash. Tuesday through Thursday, I documented everything. I sent 17 emails detailing critical dependencies. I scheduled meetings that got mysteriously canceled. I cornered David in the parking lot. You know this will break everything, I told him. He looked tired, defeated. Travis has the board's backing. Stock price is down. They want cost cuts. This isn't a cut. It's an amputation. Not my call anymore. He climbed into his Tesla, avoiding my eyes. Maybe it's time to update your resume. But I wasn't going anywhere, not yet. Friday morning, I filed one last report with legal, CCing the entire C-suite. System dependency analysis, critical failure points in EchoGrid decommission. 47 pages of technical documentation, risk assessments, and mitigation requirements. The response came within an hour, not to the report, but a meeting invite from HR. Career development discussion. I knew what that meant. Travis was clearing the path. The meeting was brief. Organizational restructuring, they said. Position elimination. They offered 3 month severance if I signed an NDA. I negotiated for 6 and kept my mouth shut about the mirror system. My last official act was updating the emergency contact protocol, adding a simple addition in case of critical system failure related to payment processing. Technical documentation is available upon request. I embedded a link to my personal server, password protected, waiting. That evening, I cleaned out my desk while Travis supervised the CloudForge team prepping for weekend migration. He stopped by, unable to resist gloating. "No hard feelings," he said. "Sometimes companies outgrow their original infrastructure and their original engineers." I packed my debugging rubber duck, the one I'd talked to through countless late nights solving impossible problems. "You're right. Sometimes they do. The severance package is generous. Take some time. Maybe learn some modern frameworks." I smiled, the same smile I'd worn in that first meeting. "I appreciate the advice." As I walked out, I heard him telling the CloudForge team, "See, even she knows it's time to move on." From my car, I watched them wheel out the first server rack. 9 years of work reduced to e-waste. They were so confident, so certain that anything old must be inferior to anything new. They didn't understand that some systems aren't old because they're obsolete. They're old because they've been running too perfectly to need replacement. I drove home, opened my laptop, and watched my mirror system's dashboard. Every transaction flowing through EchoGrid appeared perfectly replicated on my screen. I wasn't going to interfere. I wasn't going to sabotage. I was just going to watch. And when Monday came, when those tokens stopped synchronizing, when payments started failing, when millions of dollars got stuck in digital limbo, I'd be sitting at home, severance check in hand, watching the most expensive "I told you so" in Terraloom's history unfold in real time. Some lessons cost more than others. Travis was about to learn that the most expensive lessons come from ignoring the people who built what you're breaking. Saturday morning, 10:15 a.m. My phone buzzed with messages from former colleagues. The migration had begun. I ignored them all. Making coffee and settling in front of my monitoring station, 3 screens showed different views of Terraloom's infrastructure, one mirroring EchoGrid's final moments, another tracking CloudForge's replacement system, the third displaying transaction flows. The decommission started exactly as I'd predicted. Travis stood in the server room, probably thinking he looked like a general commanding troops. The CloudForge team worked with practiced efficiency, their movements choreographed from 100 similar transformations. They didn't know they were performing surgery with a chainsaw. I'd installed security cameras in that server room years ago. Officially for infrastructure monitoring, the feed still streamed to my home setup. I watched Travis pose for photos as they wheeled out the first rack. Someone had brought champagne, cork popping at 11 a.m., celebrating the murder of a masterpiece. "Unplug it," Travis commanded, pointing at the main EchoGrid server with theatrical flair. The lead CloudForge engineer hesitated. "Shouldn't we run parallel systems for a few weeks? Industry standard is why companies stagnate. We're disrupting our own infrastructure. Pull the plug." Even through the grainy camera feed, I could see the younger engineers exchanging worried glances. Jamie, who I'd trained on EchoGrid maintenance, stepped forward. "Mr. Kelburn, this server handles all our payment token synchronization. If we don't have a parallel system..." "Did I ask for your opinion?" Travis's voice carried that particular executive sharpness that killed careers. "We have CloudForge. They've migrated Fortune 500 companies. I think they can handle our little startup infrastructure." Little startup. We processed 40 million in transactions last month. Jamie retreated, but not before looking directly at the camera. He knew I'd be watching. Smart kid. He'd go far, if he survived the coming storm. At 11:47 a.m., they pulled the plug. Literally. The lead engineer yanked the power cable from EchoGrid's main unit like ripping off a bandage. The status lights died instantly. 9 years of continuous operation ending with anticlimax. On my screens, the mirror system registered the disconnect. EchoGrid flatlined, but the transactions kept flowing, rerouted automatically to CloudForge's generic payment processor. For about 15 minutes, everything looked fine. Then the first token desynchronized. It was beautiful in its simplicity. Transaction ID 7839204 generated its token at 11:59, hit the first validation point at 12:01, but CloudForge's system, built for standard payment processing, didn't maintain the microsecond precision EchoGrid had. The token aged out between validation points 3 and 4. The payment hung in limbo. Nobody noticed one failed transaction among thousands. The champagne continued flowing. Travis gave a speech about innovation and efficiency. The CloudForge team packed up their equipment, confident in their cookie-cutter solution. By 2 p.m., 17 transactions had failed. By 4 p.m., it was 300, still within normal error tolerances for most payment systems. But EchoGrid hadn't been most payment systems. We'd maintained 4 nines uptime, 99% reliability. CloudForge was delivering 3 nines at best. I pulled up my archived emails, the ones warning about token synchronization requirements. 47 emails over 6 weeks, each more detailed than the last, all marked as read. None responded to. I saved screenshots, building my timeline. The real poetry started at 5:23 p.m. That's when CloudForge's load balancer, unfamiliar with our traffic patterns, started routing high-priority transactions through their standard queue. Premium merchants, the ones paying for guaranteed sub-second processing, suddenly faced 10-second delays. My phone rang, unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Corporate. I let it go to voicemail. Saturday evening, I ordered pizza and watched the error rates climb. The CloudForge system wasn't failing catastrophically. That would have been too obvious, too easy to fix. Instead, it was failing gracefully, like a dancer slowly losing rhythm, each error small enough to ignore, collectively building towards system-wide dysfunction. Travis posted on LinkedIn at 8:45 p.m. Proud to announce Terralume's successful migration to cloud infrastructure, another milestone in our digital transformation journey. Innovation. Cloud first had disruption. 67 likes in the first hour. Nobody checking the actual systems. By Sunday morning, the token desynchronization had evolved. Without EchoGrid's custom hardware acceleration, validation delays cascaded. Transactions weren't just failing, they were corrupting the queue. CloudForge's support team, probably some underpaid contractors working weekend shifts, applied standard fixes that made everything worse. I documented everything, every error, every failed transaction, every minute of downtime. Not because anyone asked. My severance package made clear I had no ongoing obligations, but because engineers document disasters. It's what we do. At 2:15 p.m., Sunday, I saw Jamie's login appear in the system logs, off the clock, probably from home, trying to understand what was happening. He lasted 30 minutes before his access was revoked. Travis was watching too, protecting his narrative. The CloudForge team returned Sunday evening, their confidence replaced by quiet panic. Through the security cameras, I watched them huddle around terminals, trying to understand why their bulletproof solution was bleeding out. They'd never seen token synchronization requirements like ours, because they'd never bothered to ask what made our system unique. Travis arrived at 9 p.m., his weekend casual clothes not hiding his stress. He pulled the lead engineer aside, their conversation inaudible, but their body language clear. Fix this, now. But some things can't be fixed with demands. Some systems can't be replaced with generic solutions. Some expertise can't be dismissed as legacy thinking. As Sunday became Monday, I shut down my monitoring station and went to bed. The real show would start when markets opened, when thousands of merchants tried to process their Monday morning transactions through a system held together by CloudForge's duct tape and Travis's ego. I'd built EchoGrid to be irreplaceable, not from pride or job security, but because our business required something unique. Travis thought he was cutting costs. Instead, he'd cut the company's jugular. The bleeding had begun. By morning, it would be hemorrhaging. Monday, 6 a.m. I woke to silence. Not the good kind. The kind that meant my phone had crashed from too many notifications. Restarting it triggered an avalanche of alerts, missed calls, and text messages. I ignored them all, made coffee, and opened my laptop to watch Terraloom burn. The East Coast markets had been open for 30 minutes. Our merchant dashboard looked like a cardiac monitor flatlining payment after payment failing, timing out, or worse, completing with incorrect amounts. The token desynchronization had evolved overnight into something magnificent in its dysfunction. CloudForge's system, trying to be helpful, had implemented auto-retry logic for failed transactions, but without EchoGrid's token tracking, it couldn't distinguish between new attempts and duplicates. Some customers were charged 3 times, others weren't charged at all. The lucky ones simply had their payments disappear into the void. I pulled up our public status page, still green. All systems operational. Travis maintaining the illusion while Rome burned. By 7 a.m., the support tickets started flooding social media. Merchants posting screenshots of failed transactions, duplicate charges, missing inventory updates. Our competitors' sales teams were probably breaking out their best scotch, watching customers jump ship in real time. My monitoring system showed the cascade pattern I'd predicted in email number 32, the one titled, Critical Failure Scenarios in Token-Based Payment Processing. The CloudForge system wasn't just failing, it was failing fractally, each error spawning smaller errors in perfect mathematical progression. At 8:15 a.m., something beautiful happened. The system achieved what I call entropy equilibrium, the point where errors generate faster than fixes can be applied. Every CloudForge intervention made things worse, like trying to untangle Christmas lights while wearing boxing gloves. The phone rang again. This time, I recognized the number David, our neutered CTO. Valerie. His voice sounded like he'd aged 5 years over the weekend. We need you. I'm enjoying my severance. David, remember position eliminated. This isn't about politics. The payment system. The payment system Travis optimized. Silence. Then, can you fix it? I don't work there anymore. As a consultant, name your rate. I laughed, not kindly. Check your email. 47 messages explaining exactly what would happen. Travis made his decision with full information. He didn't understand. No, David, he didn't want to understand. There's a difference. I hung up and went back to my monitoring. The West Coast was waking up now, adding their transaction volume to the chaos. Our biggest client, a fashion retailer doing a flash sale, had processed exactly 0 successful payments in the first hour. Their contract included hefty SLA penalties. Mental math, roughly $50,000 per hour in penalties alone. Travis's LinkedIn post from Saturday had new comments. Former customers announcing they were switching payment providers. Current customers asking what was happening. One brave soul had posted a graph of our uptime statistics, a cliff dive from 99.9% to 67% in 48 hours. By 10 a.m., the CloudForge team had implemented their fix, a complete system restart. In my home office, I actually applauded. They'd just wiped the transaction queue, losing every in-progress payment. Millions of dollars, vanished like digital smoke. The restart worked for exactly 12 minutes. Then the token desynchronization resumed. Faster now, as if the system was eager to return to chaos. Without EchoGrid's custom hardware buffers, CloudForge couldn't handle our transaction velocity. It was like replacing a Formula One engine with a lawnmower motor and wondering why you couldn't hit 200 mph. My phone buzzed. Jamie, texting from his personal number. It's insane here. Travis locked down the war room, won't let anyone suggest rolling back. Says it's just adjustment friction. Adjustment friction. I saved that phrase for later. By noon, the entropy was magnificent. Refunds processed as charges. Charges processed as refunds. International transactions calculated exchange rates from last Tuesday. The CloudForge system, drowning in edge cases it was never designed to handle, had essentially become a random number generator with a payment API. I opened my archived codebase, Found the comment I'd left in EchoGrid's core module 3 years ago. This synchronized token validation prevents cascade failures during high-volume processing. Removing this module will result in exponential error propagation. Do not modify without understanding the mathematics. Below it, time-stamped 2 weeks ago, a new comment from someone on the CloudForge team, legacy code, deprecated in favor of standard processing. They'd seen the warning, they'd ignored it. Perfect. At 2 p.m., our stock price started moving, down 3%, 5%, 8%. The market smelled blood. Some quick research showed our biggest competitor announcing a special onboarding program for displaced merchants, vultures circling the wounded gazelle. 3 p.m. brought the best error yet. The system had become so confused it started issuing refunds for transactions from 6 months ago. Customers who'd long forgotten purchases suddenly found money appearing in their accounts. Our finance team wouldn't untangle that mess for years. I made a sandwich, poured some wine, and settled in for the evening show. Travis had wanted to be a disruptor. He'd succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. He'd disrupted our entire business model, our reputation, our revenue stream. The irony was perfect. He'd spent a few million to save money on infrastructure. The losses from today alone would dwarf a decade of server costs, but those were future Travis's problems. Current Travis was still in his war room, probably screaming at engineers to make reality conform to his PowerPoint slides. As the sun set on Terraloom's worst day in history, I raised my glass to the dying light in the server room camera feed, empty racks where EchoGrid once hummed. Progress. Travis had called it. Sometimes progress looks a lot like driving off a cliff. The entropy wasn't done. If anything, it was just finding its rhythm. Tomorrow would bring new mutations, fresh varieties of chaos, the beautiful, inevitable mathematics of a system tearing itself apart. I closed my laptop and went to bed early. Tomorrow, the board would start asking questions. Tomorrow, someone would finally read those 47 emails. Tonight, I slept like someone with 6 months of severance and zero responsibility for the digital apocalypse consuming my former employer. Entropy doesn't care about org charts. Tuesday morning arrived with the subtlety of a heart attack. By 7 a.m., the first real business article dropped. Payment processing meltdown at Terraloom enters third day. The journalist had done her homework, citing merchant complaints, analyzing our downtime statistics, and calculating potential revenue losses. Conservative estimate, $800,000 per day in lost transactions alone. But the real story was unfolding in Terraloom's Slack channels, which I could still access through a forgotten integration with my personal development tools. The panic had evolved into something more dangerous finger-pointing. Luke Martinez, one of our sharpest back-end developers, had posted a detailed analysis in the Hacked Engineering channel at 5:43 a.m. His message was clinical, professional, and devastating. The token synchronization failures are systemic. Without EchoGrid's specialized handling, we're essentially running a distributed system with no consensus mechanism. This isn't a bug, it's architectural failure. By 8 a.m., Luke's message had been deleted. By 8:30, Luke's Slack account had been deactivated. I took screenshots before they could memory hole everything else. The official communication from Travis came at 9 a.m. Team, we're experiencing temporary adjustment challenges as our systems adapt to the new infrastructure. CloudForge assures me these are normal migration artifacts that will resolve as the system learns our patterns. Systems don't learn, they execute. But Travis had bought into CloudForge's AI-powered snake oil, believing their marketing about self-healing infrastructure. The only thing self-healing was their billable hours. At 10 a.m., something shifted. Jamie messaged me directly. Luke just got walked out by security. No explanation. HR said it was restructuring. He tried to show them the math on why the system is failing. Tell him to document everything, I replied, and update his LinkedIn. The war room camera showed Travis pacing, his Monday confidence replaced by Tuesday desperation. The CloudForge team had grown from 3 consultants to 12, each one adding complexity to an already unsolvable problem. Too many cooks, but the kitchen was already on fire. Then came the email that changed everything. Melissa Santos from Legal, CCing the entire board. I've discovered a series of unaddressed technical warnings dating back 6 weeks regarding the EcoGrid decommission. These emails appear to have predicted, with remarkable accuracy, the current system failures. Why were these ignored? She'd found my paper trail, 47 breadcrumbs leading straight to Travis's door. His response came within minutes. These emails represent the opinions of a disgruntled former employee who resisted necessary modernization. We can't let fear of change paralyze our growth. Former employee, disgruntled. I laughed hard enough to spill my coffee. At noon, the story evolved. Luke, freed from corporate chains, had gone nuclear on Twitter, a 30-part thread breaking down exactly how token synchronization worked, why EcoGrid was essential, and how Travis had personally overruled engineering concerns. Each tweet tagged relevant tech journalists and included screenshots of deleted Slack messages. The 5th tweet included a photo Travis posing with champagne as they unplugged EcoGrid. Celebrating the destruction of 9 years of engineering excellence, Luke captioned it. It went viral within an hour. By 2 p.m., I received an unexpected email, not from TerraLoom, but from our biggest competitor's CTO. Valerie, we've been watching the situation at TerraLoom with interest. If you're available for a conversation about payment infrastructure architecture, we'd love to talk. P.S. We still run our own metal. I filed it for later consideration. The legal department had gone into overdrive. Melissa's team was building a timeline, and my 47 emails had become Exhibit A. But the crown jewel was my final message, sent Friday evening, containing Protocol Delta 13 specifications, my monitoring system that had predicted every failure with timestamp accuracy. At 4 p.m., Travis made his last stand, an all-hands video call, mandatory attendance. His face filled the screen, stress fractures showing through executive makeup. I want to address the rumors and speculation, he began. Change is hard. Transformation is messy. But we cannot let the voices of the past dictate our future. The individuals spreading fear and misinformation have been removed from our organization for good reason. Someone unmuted. It was Amy from accounting, normally the quietest person in any room. Is it misinformation that we've lost $3 million in revenue this week? Because that's what my spreadsheets show. Travis's jaw clenched. These are temporary. Another unmute, then another. A chorus of questions, accusations, demands. The meeting devolved into chaos before Travis killed the call entirely. At 5:17 p.m., my phone rang. Melissa from Legal. Valerie, I need to ask you about Protocol Delta 13. Your documentation suggests you predicted these exact failure modes. Can you explain? It's not prediction, I said. It's math. Token synchronization without hardware acceleration creates exponential complexity. I modeled the failure cascade weeks ago. Could you have prevented this? I tried to, 47 times. Silence. Then, would you be willing to share your monitoring data with our investigation? Depends. Is this an investigation into system failure or executive negligence? At this point, both. I agreed to send the data, terabytes of logs showing every prediction, every warning, every ignored email mapped against real-time failures. Travis had been commanding the Titanic, and I'd been counting lifeboats. That evening, Luke's Twitter thread reached mainstream media. Tech reporters smelled blood and executive hubris their favorite combination. By 8 p.m., TerraLoom was trending, paired with infrastructure failure and CEO negligence. One tweet stood out, from a respected industry analyst. The TerraLoom collapse is a masterclass in why technical debt isn't just an engineering concept, it's a business fundamental. Ignore it at your peril. I poured another glass of wine and watched my dashboard. The errors had evolved again, now creating infinite loops that consumed processing power without completing transactions. The CloudForge team had given up fixing and moved to containment digital firefighters watching the building burn while protecting adjacent structures. As Tuesday ended, I opened my laptop and composed one final email, not to Terraloom, but to my professional network. A simple subject line: Lessons from EcoGrid, Why Mission-Critical Systems Require Specialized Solutions. 3,000 words on infrastructure, expertise, and the cost of ignoring both. I didn't mention Travis by name. I didn't need to. The internet had already connected those dots. Before sending, I added a postscript: to the engineers still fighting in the trenches. Document everything. Your expertise has value, even when leadership doesn't recognize it, especially then. Send. Within an hour, my inbox exploded with job offers, consulting requests, and interview invitations. The market had spoken expertise trumps ego. Eventually, Travis had wanted to optimize costs. Instead, he'd optimized chaos. And chaos, like entropy, only moves in one direction. Wednesday arrived like a tsunami warning after the earthquake. By 6 a.m., the automated refund apocalypse had begun. The CloudForge system, drowning in its own errors, had triggered what I call a mercy kill protocol. It started refunding everything it couldn't process. The problem: it couldn't process anything. My monitoring dashboard looked like a slot machine hitting jackpot in reverse. Millions of dollars flowing out, nothing coming in. Every merchant account connected to Terraloom was hemorrhaging money, and the system couldn't distinguish between legitimate refunds and digital panic. The first major news broke at 7:15 a.m. Black Friday blowout: major retailer loses 2.3 million in erroneous refunds from payment processor Terraloom. Our biggest client had just watched their entire flash sale inventory disappear while customers kept their refunds. Free merchandise for everyone, courtesy of Travis's optimization. I checked the war room camera. Empty. Even the CloudForge consultants had abandoned ship, leaving only their branded coffee mugs and unpaid invoices. My phone vibrated with a text from Jamie. Travis locked himself in his office at 5 a.m. Security says he hasn't come out. Board meeting in 1 hour. The Slack channels had devolved into digital Lord of the Flies. Without leadership, different departments blamed each other. Sales blamed engineering. Engineering blamed CloudForge. Everyone blamed Travis. But he'd gone dark. His last message, a desperate, working on solution, sent at 3:21 a.m. Then the news got worse. At 8:45 a.m., a whistleblower had to be someone in finance leaked internal numbers to TechCrunch, not just the revenue losses, but the SLA penalties, the merchant defections, the projected lawsuits. The headline: Terraloom faces 4.6 million. Loss from failed infrastructure migration. 4.6 million. My original estimate had been conservative. I pulled up Travis's LinkedIn. His victory post from Saturday had over 3,000 comments now, ranging from sympathy to schadenfreude to outright mockery. Someone had created a meme, Travis's champagne photo with the caption, "Seconds before disaster." It was everywhere. At 10 a.m., something unprecedented happened. Our competitor, the one who'd reached out to me, announced an emergency merchant assistance program. They'd absorbed Terraloom's fleeing customers with zero onboarding fees and instant setup. The press release included a subtle dig: "We believe in building robust, specialized infrastructure rather than chasing trendy solutions." My dashboard showed the exodus in real time. Merchants disconnecting by the dozens, their transaction flows vanishing like lights going out across a city grid. Each departure represented years of relationship building, destroyed in 72 hours. Then came the email that made me sit back and laugh. Not a chuckle, but deep, cathartic laughter. From board secretary at Terraloom.com, subject: emergency technical consultation request. Ms. Knox, the board of directors requests your immediate assistance in evaluating the current infrastructure crisis. We're prepared to offer consulting rates of $2,000 hour, with a minimum engagement of 100 hours. Additionally, we need an assessment of whether EcoGrid can be restored. $200,000 to fix what they'd paid to break. Corporate logic at its finest. I let them sweat for an hour before responding. My consulting rate for emergency infrastructure recovery is $3,500 hour, 150-hour minimum prepaid, plus equity compensation. EcoGrid restoration requires full infrastructure control and C-level decision authority. These terms are non-negotiable. The response came in 12 minutes. Terms accepted. When can you start? When Travis Kelburn's resignation is publicly announced. Silence. At noon. My news alerts exploded. Breaking Terraloom's CFO Travis Kelburn steps down amid infrastructure crisis. The press release was a masterpiece of corporate fiction, thanking Travis for his contributions and wishing him well in his future endeavors. His LinkedIn profile updated within minutes, seeking new opportunities in financial transformation. Good luck with that, Travis. By 1 p.m., I was back in the building, this time with a visitor badge marked Executive Consultant and a security escort. The office felt like a morgue. Half the desks were empty people calling in sick or just not bothering. The remaining staff watched me with a mixture of hope and accusation. The woman who'd warned them, back to save them. The server room was exactly as I'd seen on camera: empty racks, disconnected cables, the ghost of 9 years' work, but I'd prepared for this. Protocol Delta 13 wasn't just monitoring, it was a complete system snapshot, waiting for resurrection. I found Jamie at his desk, bags under his eyes, still trying to fix the unfixable. Valerie, get me Luke's number, and anyone else Travis fired for being right. We're going to need them. The board had assembled in the main conference room, 6 faces ranging from ashamed to furious. I didn't sit. Here's what happens now, I began, pulling up my prepared slides. We restore EcoGrid from my backups. It'll take 18 hours if we work non-stop. You'll lose every transaction from the past 3 days. They're corrupted beyond recovery. Merchant trust is gone. Some will come back. Most won't. The $4.6 million is just the beginning. Lawsuits will triple that. Can you fix it? Asked the board chair, a woman who'd probably never seen a server room. I can restore functionality. I can't restore reputation. Travis wanted to save money on infrastructure. Instead, he lit 40% of our market cap on fire. They winced at the number. Good. What do you need? Complete authority, no interference, no CloudForge, no consultants, my team, my way, or I walk and let you explain to shareholders why you ignored 47 warnings. Unanimous approval. Amazing what abject failure does for decision-making speed. I spent the rest of Wednesday rebuilding, not just servers, but trust. I brought back Luke, promoted Jamie, hired 3 specialists who'd been watching our meltdown with professional interest. We worked through the night, fueled by pizza and vindication. At 11:59 p.m., I initialized the EcoGrid restore sequence. Watching those lights flicker back to life felt like watching a friend wake from a coma. The system hummed, tentative at first, then stronger as each module came online. Welcome back, I whispered to the servers. Behind me, my new team, my real team, began the delicate process of reconnecting Terraloom to the digital world. We'd lost millions, fired our CFO, and become a cautionary tale in every business school. But we were processing payments again. Sometimes that's what victory looks like, not champagne and photos, but green lights blinking steadily through the night, doing exactly what they were built to do. Thursday morning brought lawyers, not the friendly corporate counsel type, but the kind who arrived in black sedans and spoke in depositions. By 8 a.m., Terraloom's lobby looked like a legal convention, class action representatives, merchant attorneys, and most ominously, investigators from the SEC. I watched from the restored server room, EcoGrid humming its familiar song while chaos swirled in the floors above. My team had worked through the night, and we'd achieved the impossible full payment processing restoration in under 20 hours. But fixing the technology was the easy part. At 9:30 a.m., the board chair, Patricia Williams, found me debugging a token synchronization edge case. The auditors need to speak with you. About everything, the warnings, the system failure, The recovery. They're particularly interested in your protocol Delta 13. I followed her to a conference room where 3 auditors from Ernst & Sterling waited with laptops and stone faces. The lead auditor, a woman who looked like she'd calculated the exact amount of small talk required by social convention and allocated not one word more, got straight to the point. Ms. Knox, your documentation suggests you predicted these failures with 97.3% accuracy. Can you explain? It's not prediction, it's deterministic system modeling. When you remove critical infrastructure components, the failure patterns follow mathematical rules. Yet management ignored these warnings. I pulled up my email archive. 47 documented warnings, each one read, acknowledged, and dismissed. They exchanged glances, the kind that meant someone was getting sued into oblivion. The audit continued for 3 hours, every email, every timestamp, every ignored recommendation cataloged with forensic precision. They were building a case, and Travis had provided all the evidence they needed. At 1 p.m., news broke that sent our stock into freefall. Former TerraLoom CFO Travis Kelburn under SEC investigation for potential securities fraud. Someone had leaked that Travis had sold significant stock options the day before the migration, suggesting he knew the disaster was coming. My phone buzzed, unknown number, but I recognized Travis's voice immediately. "You did this," he said, his executive polish replaced by raw desperation. "You sabotaged me!" "No, Travis, you sabotaged yourself. I just documented it." "I'll sue you for what?" "Sending accurate technical assessments, backing up systems I built, taking severance you offered." I laughed. "Your lawyers will tell you the same thing EchoGrid tried to tell you: some systems can't be disrupted." He hung up. It would be our last conversation. By 3 p.m., the real audit began. Not Ernst & Sterling's financial forensics, but the technical deep dive that would determine TerraLoom's future. The board had hired an independent infrastructure assessment team, and they wanted to understand exactly what EchoGrid did and why it couldn't be replaced. I spent 4 hours in that room, whiteboarding token synchronization algorithms, explaining custom hardware acceleration, breaking down 9 years of optimization into digestible chunks. The lead assessor, a former Google architect named David Kim, asked the question everyone had been dancing around. Could CloudForge have succeeded with proper implementation? No. I pulled up the mathematical proof I'd prepared months ago. Our transaction patterns require sub-millisecond token validation across 17 checkpoints. CloudForge's fastest processing is 40 milliseconds. It's like asking if a bicycle could win Formula One with better tires. He nodded, making notes, and management was informed of this. Email number 32. Subject line: Mathematical impossibility of cloud migration for token-based systems. Sent 6 weeks ago. The room fell silent. Someone had ignored the math, and mathematics doesn't care about org charts. At 6 p.m., as I supervised the reconnection of our major merchant accounts, Patricia found me again. This time, she wasn't alone. The entire board had descended from their ivory tower. "Ms. Knox," the lead director began, "we owe you an apology." I kept working, fingers flying across the keyboard. "I don't need apologies. I need guarantees this won't happen again." What would those look like? I turned to face them. 6 executives who'd learned the hard way that infrastructure isn't a line item, it's a lifeline. First, no infrastructure decisions without engineering sign-off, ever. Second, my team needs budget guarantees for the next 5 years. Third, I wanted in writing that any executive who overrules critical technical recommendations assumes personal liability for the outcome. They agreed to everything. When you're hemorrhaging millions, suddenly engineering opinions matter. The final twist came at 8:45 p.m., an email blast from CloudForge's CEO. Distancing themselves from the TerraLoom disaster, they claimed their solution was improperly implemented against CloudForge recommendations, and that they'd warned about potential incompatibilities. I had their lead consultant on video saying, "We can handle anything EchoGrid does, but better and cheaper." I forwarded it to legal. Let the lawyers sort out who sued whom. By 10 p.m., we'd restored 60% of our merchant base. The others were gone forever. But the bleeding had stopped. EchoGrid processed transactions with its old reliability, as if the past week had been a bad dream. Jamie brought me coffee, the good stuff from the executive floor. Think Travis learned anything. I pulled up his LinkedIn, already scrubbed of any Terraloom mention, rebranded as a transformation specialist seeking new opportunities. The comments section was brutal screenshots of his champagne photo had become a meme template for corporate hubris. People like Travis don't learn, I said. They just find new companies to optimize. As Thursday became Friday, I stood in the server room, listening to the heartbeat of the system I'd built, destroyed, and resurrected. The boards and lawyers would argue about blame and compensation for months. The media would dissect every decision, every ignored warning, every million lost. But down here, in the basement where the real work happened, there was only the quiet hum of servers doing their job, green lights blinking steadily, tokens synchronizing perfectly, transactions flowing like water through pipes I'd designed to last. Travis had wanted to disrupt everything. In the end, the only thing he disrupted was his own career. The math didn't lie. It never does. Friday morning, 1 week after the disaster began, I arrived at 6 a.m. to find something unexpected on my desk, a handwritten note from Marcus, Terraloom's founder, who'd been silent through the entire crisis. Valerie, I hired you to build things that last. You did. Then I let someone destroy your work because quarterly reports looked better than quality infrastructure. That's on me. The company is yours to rebuild. M. Attached was a document making me Chief Technology Officer with full infrastructure authority. No committees, no oversight, no CFO with an optimization fetish, just an engineer and her servers. The restoration was complete by 9 Every merchant account reconnected, every token synchronizing perfectly, every transaction flowing through systems that had survived corporate stupidity and emerged stronger. The final statistics were staggering: 4.6 million in direct losses, another 8 million in legal settlements, 30% market cap evaporated, all to save a few $100,000 in server costs. At 10 a.m., I called an all-hands meeting, not in the gleaming top-floor conference room, but in the basement, surrounded by the servers Travis had tried to kill. This is EchoGrid, I began, patting the main server like an old friend. It's not pretty. It's not cloud native. It's not disrupting anything. It just works, every second of every day, processing millions of transactions, protecting your paychecks and our customers' businesses. The room was packed, engineers, salespeople, even some board members, all crammed between server racks. Everyone wanted to see the machine that had brought down a CFO. Travis thought infrastructure was a cost to be cut. He was wrong. Infrastructure is the foundation everything else builds on. Ignore it, and everything collapses. Respect it, and it will carry you through anything. I pulled up one final slide, Travis's champagne photo, now infamous across tech Twitter. This is what happens when ego meets entropy, when buzzwords replace engineering, when cost-cutting becomes more important than understanding what you're cutting. Then I switched to a live dashboard of EchoGrid's metrics. Uptime 99.99%. Transactions processed 11,000 per second. Status optimal. I'm not here to gloat. I'm here to make sure this never happens again. Every system in this building will be documented, understood, and respected. Every warning will be heard. Every engineer's expertise will matter. And anyone who thinks they can optimize away our foundation will find themselves optimized out of a job. Applause erupted. Probably the first time anyone had clapped in a server room. I spent the rest of Friday implementing new protocols, code reviews that couldn't be overruled by executives, infrastructure decisions requiring engineering consensus, a direct line from any engineer to the board if critical warnings were ignored. Simple changes that would have prevented millions in losses. At 4 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. Travis. I've been hired as transformation officer at NextGen Financial. They have legacy systems that need modernizing. Thought you should know. I screenshot it and sent it to NextGen's CTO with a simple message: Google Terralume infrastructure failure before he touches anything. The response came in minutes. Holy shit. Thank you. Another disaster prevented. Another company saved from learning the $4.6 million lesson. As evening approached, I made one last walk through the server room. Luke was training new engineers on token synchronization. Jamie was implementing additional safeguards I'd designed during my severance vacation. The team that Travis had dismissed as legacy thinkers was building the future. My phone buzzed with a final email from the board. The official post-mortem report, prepared by Ernst and Sterling. The conclusion was damning. The Terralume infrastructure failure represents a catastrophic breakdown in corporate governance, technical leadership, and basic decision-making. The dismissal of documented expert warnings in favor of executive preference caused preventable losses exceeding $12 million. The rapid recovery, led by the same engineer whose warnings were ignored, demonstrates that expertise and infrastructure excellence remain Terralume's core competitive advantages. Attached was a note from Patricia. This report goes to every business school in the country. Travis Kelburn will be a case study in what not to do. I deleted the email. I didn't need their validation. I had something better: a server room humming with perfectly synchronized transactions, a team that trusted expertise over ego, and the knowledge that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's letting them destroy themselves while you quietly build things that last. I locked the server room and headed home. Behind me, Echo Grid continued its eternal rhythm, processing payments in the dark, unnoticed and unappreciated until someone tried to unplug it. Travis had pulled that plug. It cost him $4.6 million and a career. I'd simply plugged it back in. Sometimes the most powerful thing an engineer can do is exactly what they were hired to do: build systems that work, document the dangers of breaking them, and wait for reality to prove them right. Entropy always wins, but with the right infrastructure, you can make it work for you. Thank you for listening to this story of corporate karma and technical vindication. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If you enjoyed this tale of an engineer's ultimate revenge, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you ever witnessed management ignore critical warnings in your workplace? Let me know in the comments.